now would be the time to make that transition. So again, I'll repeat that each candidate, and we'll hear from all four candidates for both Commissioner 1 and Commissioner 2. Each one will have 2 minutes for an opening statement, and so we'll hear from each of them before any questions are taken. We now have quite a lengthy list of questions, and so again, only if time permits will there be a 1 minute closing. So we'll start with the two candidates for Commissioner 1 position. First, we'll start with Jim Johnson.
Thank you, Susan. Thank you to the AAUW for this opportunity. First of all, I want to say that my name is Jim Johnson, and I'll say it again, my name is Jim Johnson. I'm going to take this silly tag off that keeps falling off of my sport coat. I told the young man at the door who handed it to me, I said, you're young and enterprising. If you want to make $1 million really fast, come up with one of these things that actually sticks on a sport coat, because they don't anywhere I've ever been. So I'm going to put it on my bottle of water. It may stick there, so I'm Jim Johnson. Okay. Second thing is, I hope the judges haven't left. I wanted to thank Judge Lorman for his comments about commissioners helping to improve the audio-visual technology in the courtrooms, as some lawyers who were in there arguing a case that on behalf of the state told us the other day, we've gone from worst to first, so we're in better shape. I always feel a little bit sorry for the judges. As you know, they sit on the bench while commissioners are in the starting lineup. So I hope they're still here to hear that one. I kind of like that one. So I have less than 2 minutes now. So I'm Jim Johnson. I'm the incumbent for position 1, county commissioner. I've lived in Walla Walla for 42 years. I was born and raised in Seattle, came here right after college. My wife and I together have 4 children. All of them were born and raised here. I came to town, as I said. My first job outside of college was here in Walla Walla. I got here, thought I'd get a little bit of experience and move over to the west side, and moved back to the west side, and within a couple of months I realized this was a place I wanted to make my home. I've been involved with this community for all of that time on various boards, commissions, and with youth sports, and you name it. This community means a lot to me. I came here, went to work for a small public accounting firm. 8 years later, I bought that firm, and I owned it until 2012, when I became a full-time county commissioner and was able to sell my practice. It's been a privilege and an honor to serve you as your county commissioner, and I'd like to do so for another 4 years. Thank you.
We'll next hear from his opponent, Jared Frericks.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming out here. I want to express my gratitude to the AAUW, and it's really fascinating to be on this side. I've attended a lot of these forums in the audience, as you all are tonight, and it's just kind of neat to be on this side of the forum. This is actually Jim and I's 3rd time sparring in 5 days, I think, so we're getting really familiar with each other, and so some of our stories we're going to share, we've both heard them before. At the age of 12, I had a job delivering the Walla Walla Union Bulletin. And the $120 I collected each month paid the rent on my family's 15-foot by 50-foot trailer, family of 5, out in Waitsburg. I grew up on food stamps. I grew up on government cheese. My mother was a really proud woman, and at a very young age, she would give me a grocery list and send me into Albertsons by myself. Because at this time, food stamps actually came in a little booklet. They weren't something trendy and neat like an EBT card. And my mom was so embarrassed that someone that would see her with these stamps that she would send me, a young preteen man, in with a list of grocery ingredients and my shopping list. And I would go through the store and fill up my cart and go back to the car. This taught me a lot of really important lessons early in my life. I grew up in Waitsburg. I had a lot of opportunities to work for my community. I pulled rye for local wheat farmers. I made $10 an hour. And as the age of 15, this is like back in 1999, I was making $10 an hour working for local wheat farmers. After I graduated high school, I was called to service, and I served my country for 10 years with the United States Coast Guard. I'm an Iraq War veteran. I participated in Hurricane Katrina and the successful response for that. The reason I'm running for county commissioner is when I returned 6 years ago after getting out of the service and getting my education, I saw that Walla Walla had protected a lot of the traditions that I really hold dear, but there was this encroaching specter on the horizon, and I wanted to address that. Sitting down at the coffee table or the break room table with my friends, I heard that their economic outlook for young families in our area really hadn't improved. And that's what I want to do. I want to drive after economic improvement for young families. Thank you.
Now we'll hear from the candidates for Commissioner 2. We'll start with candidate Randall Sun.
Thank you, Susan. Good evening. Thank you to the sponsors, volunteers, and it's really good to see friends old and new from my 45 years here. Many of you know my wife, Jackie. I'm Randall's son, and for many of us growing up in other parts of the world, moving to this remarkable region was really life-changing. People who know me say I'm a quick learner, a good listener, considerate, and ethical. I value efficiency, innovation, and function over flash. I look for ways to get things done. I'm not tied to ideological answers. Finding the right answers is important, and I don't hold grudges. I have a clear idea of what the commissioner's job needs to be for the 21st century. As a 100% full-time commissioner, I will emphasize jobs, strong fiscal management, public safety, and resource conservation. I have broad experience. I've shaped farm business plans and loaned on those plans. I've hired and trained people and responsibly managed a big budget in hard times. I've closed sales to earn commissions. I've punched a clock to earn wages. I was the turnaround executive for the Humane Society. I've volunteered for Planned Parenthood, the Blues Society, and Working Families Roundtable. County government should be a ready partner in preserving the character of the region while welcoming new people, ideas, and businesses. We must rise effectively to modern challenges so our hardworking families will not suffer from crime, illness, or poverty. With these things in mind, I ask for your vote and active support for County Commissioner. Thank you.
And next, Todd Kimball.
Thank you to the association for letting me be here in front of you today. My name is Todd Kimball, running for County Commissioner District 2. I am a Walla Walla product. I am a 6th generation resident and farmer in Walla Walla County. My wife Sandy, we've been together for 29 years. My boys Scott and Shay, 18 and 16. When I first said I was going to run for County Commissioner, I said I thought this county had been run well for the past 10 years. I stand by that remark. Our county is as fiscally responsible and as well funded as any in the state. Commissioner Doge's retirement, his pending retirement, would mean that I am the only farmer, if I'm elected, to be on this commission. With the farmers and the farm-related businesses being the #1 tax base in Walla Walla County, I think they deserve a voice on this commission. I want to keep Walla Walla a great place to live and a great place to raise a family. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for your opening remarks. And as I said, we've got quite a list of questions that have come in. So I'll address this to each of the commissioners, and so all 4 of you will have the opportunity to respond. You'll have no more than 2 minutes, and the shorter you can make your response, the more questions we can get. But in any case, we'll start with the first question, and you can just decide which order you'd like to respond in this to. It says, agriculture is now less than 9% of the Walla Walla economy. How will this data alter your strategies for economic development? Who'd like to start?
Again, I will say agriculture is the #1 tax base in Walla Walla County. Anyone who says any differently is incorrect. Yeah, that's all I really have.
There are some very interesting developments in emerging local agriculture. And I do think that there are things to do in planning and zoning to make sure that those innovations and that drive of people who want to make this a thriving and abundant place for local products, there's some things we can do to make that easier, not hinder them. And that would be my primary response.
So I agree with both of those statements. There's no, when I came here 42 years ago, this was known as a sleepy wheat town. We changed quite a bit, but we haven't changed from the fact that this is an agricultural-based community, and so much of what we do depends on agriculture, to include growing wine and growing grapes and making wine. I think some of the things we have to do are make sure that our farmers get the help they need from government, not to hinder what it is they're trying to do. We are seeing unprecedented low commodity prices, but unprecedented high input costs. I mean, the cost of a new combine is well over $500,000, and wheat prices are about what they were when I moved here 42 years ago. Farmers are really under a tremendous amount of stress. The interesting thing is, at the same time, farmland is selling for more than it has probably ever. I'm not an economist, I'm an accountant. I don't quite understand what's going on there. But I do know we have to be good partners when it comes to our role as county commissioners. And by that I mean we have to take a look at zoning and those kinds of things. I think one of the things we can do to help our farmers is to complete Highway 12, phases 7 and 8. Make sure we've got good transportation for them to get their commodities to market. So as a commissioner, I tend to do everything I can, continue to do everything I can to support agriculture. Although I'm not an active farmer, my wife is an active farmer. And has been. Her family has farmed in Columbia County for well over 100 years, so agriculture is extremely important to me.
We have to protect our agricultural heritage. As a young man, it meant a lot to me to be able to work for local farmers. That's how I earned my early living. I sold my first hog at the Walla County Fair to Valley Vision Clinic to buy my first vehicle. So our agricultural background, I support programs like the FFA and the 4-H. I think those are valuable programs. In fact, it's where I learned to become a public speaker at a young age. Where we need to shift our focus, though, is to the manufacturing sector. Currently, manufacturing offers 12.9% of the employment within the county. But overall, for all the wages that are earned, they're at 17.1%. Manufacturing jobs mean they employ a lot of people, but they also pay really good wages. And so manufacturing jobs, what does that look like? That looks like food processing plants. If we were to bring in a food processing plant outside of Boise, white paper, the environmental regulations that Boise would have to do for smell control or scent control because of the canning process that was going on near them would end up saving Boise white paper something like $5 million in taxes. They want us to move in a food processing plant out there so the Boise white paper can actually save a bunch of money in environmental regulations because their bosses are not going to move something forward like this without the need to move something forward. So these are some issues, and that's where I think we need to shift our focus. We need to shift our focus to manufacturing. We need to look at outside our borders and outside the United States. This is a growing global economy, and we need to become a partner, and we need to become a participant in that. Washington State, 1 in 5 jobs is an international job in international trade. And we need to get in that market and we need to participate in that. And I know that we can, and I know we can be world leaders of that. Thank you.
We're going to jump to the next question. And this one is, what is your view on the production of marijuana, both medical and recreational, within the county?
I don't know if I could do this in 2 minutes, but
That's all you got.
She said we can pick whoever wants something. I jumped up first. I only have 2 minutes. Okay, so as you know, Walla County Commissioners adopted, we banned producing, processing, retailing of recreational marijuana in Walla County. We did so with a lot of soul searching, I did a lot of research. I'm the one who proposed the resolution. Talked to a lot of people who deal with marijuana as it affects our adolescents and what that's doing to them. Not being a gateway drug, but being a drug of choice. They drop out of school, they're listless, they're not anxious to look for a job. And I did so with a lot of, it was a heavy heart, I guess. But when you removed the incorporated areas of Walla Walla County over which I have no control, and you look at the vote by the folks in the unincorporated areas, 57% of our citizens said no to that ballot issue. So that's what we did, and I'm going to stand by that. Medical marijuana is a different story. I have a different view of medical marijuana. And I'm more than willing, and we are now taking a look at what we're going to do. The state adopted new rules effective July 1st regarding who can and can't grow medical marijuana. I'm a little irritated, and I said this in our commission chambers when we our first meeting on medical marijuana. Frankly, I think there's some good evidence that there's some medical validity to medical marijuana. It irritates me that if that's the case, why that decision is being made above my pay grade. Why aren't our doctors and the people who understand medicine and pharmaceuticals, why aren't they getting together and saying, yeah, this is what it is, and making those decisions so we don't have to, so people who need medical marijuana can go to a pharmacy and get it just like other prescription drugs. It irritates me that we at this level have to make that decision, but I am open to medical marijuana.
I agree with Commissioner Johnson. The vote in the unincorporated areas is about 60%. This is interesting though, because voters are an interesting group. They will smoke a joint and vote against marijuana legislation because people understand, I know this is good for me, but I don't know what someone else is going to do with this. I don't know how someone else is going to behave with this. So the pro-marijuana lobby needs to reopen this conversation with the community. I'm going to back up my constituents. 60% of the unincorporated areas are anti-marijuana legalization. I'm going to back up my constituents on that. But I think we need to open the conversation and talk about it, especially looking at revenue issues that the county is facing. The sale of marijuana is taxed at 37%. This money goes to the state, and then the state doles out based on what marijuana manufacturing facilities you have within your area. This is potential revenue for the county. Now, what we have to look at as constituents and as citizens of our community is, does that potential benefit outweigh the potential loss? It's a cost-benefit analysis that we need to make as citizens of this community. But we need to reopen this conversation and revisit it again. And I think there's some work that we can do on this and look in this a little bit further. But yeah, without a doubt. Thank you.
I also agree that medical marijuana is something that should be allowed in the county. Not that we can do anything about it, but currently there is a moratorium on co-op grow operations, which means that more than one person can get together and grow the marijuana, that medical marijuana in one place. And I support that moratorium. I think if you want to grow your marijuana, you go right ahead for your medical purposes. I support the ban on the grow package and retail in the county being a ban. I think that's a good thing for the commission. There is some confusion because the state issues permits for these grow operations in Walla Walla County. The state actually issues a permit, and then it's a zoning problem for the commissioners to deal with that. So I think it's a problem with the state and a problem with the zoning issues, but I hope that gets taken care of soon.
I would also respect the wishes of the county voters on this issue at this time. And I would encourage a continuing conversation in the community. I believe particularly with regard to the 4-member medical cooperatives, one of the concerns is compliance with the number of plants grown. And if people do want to support the allowance of 4-member medical cooperatives, then I think they have a responsibility to step up and work out a procedure and a method for ensuring their compliance with the limits of the state law. So we do need some more conversation. And I do think that, as far as I can tell right now, medical marijuana users, people qualified and having it prescribed, can access that. Not all of them can access the varieties that are specific to their problem, but I do think that will likely change in the outlets that are currently available. So in general, I think we do need to continue being very slow and careful with this and encouraging all the parties to discuss it, discuss the pros and cons, and discuss who's responsible for verifying compliance.
I have three questions that kind of hang together in my mind, and so I'm going to just kind of put them together. And so the first one says, some have suggested that a county manager system similar to the city manager system would better serve the county. And how would you respond to this? So let me lead into the related other questions, which are, should Walla Walla consider a home rule charter with county executive? And the third that I think hangs with this is, do you feel the job of county commissioner is a full-time job?
It is absolutely a full-time job, and I will give taxpayers full value for the salary paid every month of the year. I don't believe at this time that any change in the county charter to a county manager or a home rule with an executive is justified. We might well be getting to the point where issues, regular business, are complicated and of enough volume that would be an advantage for the community as a whole. But I think at this time, if the commissioners are focused on the work and do it full-time every month of the year, the issues can be handled. I want to point out that my work history, since I have 30 seconds extra, my work history and my sixth-generation family history are available on either my website or the Facebook, which are on the business card available. Thank you.
I agree that we don't need a city manager at this time. I think our county commissioners are fully capable of handling the business of the county. I also agree that the county commissioner job is a full-time position, and I would give it a 100%. I would give it 100% of my time. Thank you.
The establishment of the 3-commissioner board dates back hundreds of years in the territory, and I don't see a benefit right now of a county manager. Actually, I really enjoy the democratic process that goes into electing and running for office for the county commissioners, and the input that can develop, that we can stir up within the community, and about the services that the county can provide. So I completely support the current establishment of 3 commissioners, 3 districts, and I don't currently see a need of a city manager. We have 60,000 people within this county, ranging all the way from Irving to Waitsburg to Prescott, and that's a lot of area to cover, and that's a lot of people's to need for one individual. Without a doubt, the county commissioner is a 24/7 office. You need to be available at any time to deal with the issues that arise within our county, and that includes things like emergency response. That includes things like, emergency response is the big thing that would be happening in the middle of the night, but thank you.
So it is definitely a full-time job. When people ask me if county commissioner is a full-time job, I give them my wife's cell phone number and say, just give her a call. It is unlike any other full-time job I've ever had, however. Jared's right in that it is essentially 24/7. We get calls on weekends, we get calls at night. This is a small community, and we tend to know a lot of our neighbors. I know a lot of people, and people feel free to call a county commissioner when they have a problem or a question, and I think that's great. That's what I love about living here. So it is a full-time job. It's just not Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. It is very, very different. We have a lot of night meetings. We're out of town on weekends sometimes, going to Olympia or somewhere else for meetings, all for the benefit of the county. So it is a very interesting and also full-time job. As far as a county administrator, and that's what the position would be called, there are 39 counties in the state. I believe 32 of them run as we do under a 3-commissioner plan. Some of those 32 have a county administrator along with the 3 commissioners. The home rule counties, the charter counties, have a county council and generally have a county executive. I know commissioners have talked about a county administrator in the past, and generally the consensus has been that we are not large enough and our problems are not extensive enough that we need a county administrator at this time. I think the 3-commissioner form of government that we have now which makes us the legislative and executive authority within the county. I think this, for Walla Walla County, this works very well. In the foreseeable future, I wouldn't see a change.
Okay, we'll keep going here. So the next question I'm going to put out there, and again, we're probably not going to get to all of them, but this one is, what are your opinions about how to solve the problems of homelessness in this community? What do you think of the homeless campground recently set up in Walla Walla?
I'll jump up first on this. I thought Jason Wicklund at the Christian Aid Center wrote an excellent article in the paper on Sunday regarding homelessness. You know, we have a homeless council. The county has a homeless council that works on this issue. Virtually every social service agency that deals with the homeless, I'm talking about BMAC, I'm talking about Walla Walla Housing Authority, I'm talking about people in our public health arena, human services, virtually every one of those experts is of the opinion that the homeless camp that we currently have out near the Vets Memorial Golf Course is not the way to handle homeless housing. That we need to work on getting people into transitional housing, and that frankly, a number of the people that are in the homeless camp don't want help other than a place to camp, and if you'll provide them running water and food and some other amenities, they're happy to stay there for as long as you'll let them stay there. I think there are better ways to go about it, and I would certainly offer the county's assistance in any way we can to help make that a reality. There is housing available. There is help available for people who want the help. Now that brings in the other question of mental health and chemical dependency and alcohol abuse and all of those other things. But we have programs for those people too. And I don't believe that the appropriate way to handle homeless housing is camp as it currently exists.
I'm going to expose myself here a little bit on some of this issue. When I started to notice the panhandlers downtown in Walla Walla, I was alerted to this issue of going on with homelessness within our community. The county recognizes, though, that homelessness is down by 40%. I actually participated and helped the Walla Walla Homeless Alliance get off the ground and donated my time and my resources to this organization, which is a private organization trying to answer the problem of homelessness. Until I started to announce or think about running for county commissioner, and I was told by my supporters to stand away from this issue because it was such a firebrand issue within the community. There was a lot of people that were really excited and up in arms about Madison Park, which is where they plan to put the tiny houses and establish it as a transitional housing area. The GOTR camp out by the golf course, they're currently collecting pallets that they're going to put their tents on for the winter so they have some kind of insulation off the ground so they don't freeze to death this winter. That is not an acceptable issue, and we really need to get our arms around this community and get to work on this project like yesterday. I support private involvement. I support public involvement. In fact, our county resources for addressing homelessness, BMAC, and the county health department are really strong. There's a lot of really dedicated people inside these organizations that are working really hard. And I think that, I don't know where the problem came from. It kind of blindsided the community. And we really need to start working on this issue and offering some transitional housing and start working on our affordable housing. We're the worst county in the state for affordable housing. That's for low-income families, young families. We really need to get our arms around that, and we really need to work on that issue.
You know, homelessness is a big problem, and it appears to be getting worse in our community. You know, there's really two types of homeless. There's the temporarily displaced, you know, someone that got divorced, lost a job, something of a temporary nature, and those people are getting help. Last year alone, there were 400 housing vouchers given to people that wanted help like that. There's also the chronic homeless, like the tent city. I'm going to explain my position on this by telling you a story. It's a very personal story. I have a very close personal friend, he's a family friend, who lived under the Burnside Bridge in Portland for the greater part of 25 years. He had a serious drug problem. He was in and out of halfway houses. He was in and out of homeless houses. Every time you get clean and sober, something would happen, he'd be right back where he was before. I asked him one time when he was in one of those positions where he was clean and sober, I asked him, why don't you stay in the homeless shelters where you can stay warm, get food, and get the services you need? And he said, I don't want to, because when I'm there, I can't do the drugs that I enjoy. I don't want to be there. When I'm there, I have to be clean and sober, and when I'm living on the street, I can do what I want, say what I want, sleep where I want, and have no one to answer to. We can't make the homeless encampment too comfortable, or these people will never want to get help. There's also one additional issue to this, which I think is a terrible thing, and that is that Portland and Seattle right now are giving free bus passes to Walla Walla because of how well we treat our homeless. Free bus passes. That could be a real problem in the future.
Some of you know my day job right now is driving for Valley Transit. And on a daily basis, I help, talk to, and deal with, and sometimes have to discipline people who are needy, disadvantaged, out of balance, on the edge of losing their shelter. So I really understand the complexities of the issue, and I don't think any one answer will solve the problem. It's also a problem that's bigger than what just the county can deal with. We are funding services, and I think we need to continue to provide mental health and addiction treatment services and referrals to temporary housing, but we need to do that in-house or in clinic settings. We want to partner with community organizations to do outreach on the street, and like the others, I believe, I'm not comfortable making the street more comfortable. I don't think that would solve the problem either. I would second much of what Jared said, and there is an affordable housing proposal in the works. And once I see the specifics of the efficiency of funding to actually generate units and not support admin, I would support some kind of revenue additions. However, I would also like to see that be a blend of sales tax and levy, both of which options have been discussed. I would rather blend that so that the cost of providing more affordable housing units is evenly spread across the community. And I also think that if we were to take our sales tax percent to 9%, that's a bad emotional threshold for that. We would drive more business out of the community. So I want to keep sales tax below 9%, and I would like to see funding broadly spread.
We're really at the end of the hour, so I'm just going to let you know that I'm having to forego asking questions that have to do more with economic development, gang violence, the reserve, the county reserve for current expense budget, your reasons for entering the race, and all sorts of questions that are here. I think we would be best served if each of you would make a 1-minute closing statement, and then we'll move to the next hour.
Nobody wants to be last. All right, I will do it. I'm running for District 2. Todd Kimball is running for District 2. And in his 30 years here as an adult, he's done some good things. In my 45 years here as an adult, I've developed a broader skill set. I have strategic planning, policy development work, and coalition building in my background, as well as work with various forms of agriculture on a local and a statewide basis. I have broad support on traditional and emerging local agriculture, from business owners, from labor organizations, from nonprofits, from the wine industry, and from regular wage earners. A fresh perspective on the Board of Commissioners will yield better results. Together, let's make Walla Walla work for everyone. I ask for your vote and your active support. Thank you.
Walla Walla County must remain fiscally responsible and be strong to handle the problems in the future. My experience as a CPA gives me the knowledge and the expertise to handle any tough times that may lie ahead. I have worked with many types of people on the boards I have served. I listen, and I'm able to offer a fresh perspective by looking outside the box. I look forward to this election this November, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
So one of the questions was why you wanted to run in this race, and for me, it's Walla Walla in the next 100 years, the generations, the young generations. Also, I wanted to show that you didn't have to participate in the community for 42 years to run, that the average poor kid can participate in local government. If you look at the age of the men on the stage, I'm the diverse candidate. I want to show and demonstrate that more people can be involved in the political process and take control of their local government and develop and create the kinds of services they really want. To get your questions answered, all those various questions, you can go to my website, www.jared4ww.com. I've got videos on there. I got a lot of really heavy social media presence if you want to follow me on Instagram or Facebook. My phone number is posted on there, my personal phone number, and that's the kind of county commissioner I'm going to be. You want to call me and talk to me about an issue, you want to talk to me about gang violence, I got a lot to talk about gang violence. I work up at the prison. I have really good solutions to this problem. So you want to talk about economic development, I got some really crazy, wild ideas that are going to potentially make us all a bunch of money. So I thank you, and I look for your vote this November 8th. Jared Fredericks, District 1.
I hope that includes making these little tags, because I really think that's a missed opportunity. I want to thank the AAUW for sponsoring this, and I agree with Jared. I really wish we had more time, because there are some really important issues that I would very much like to get into. I would very much like to stay after for anyone who has additional questions, or call me anytime at the County Commission. Jared doesn't have the market on being poor. When I came to this town, I had about 20 bucks and got my first job out of college, and I only went to college but for the grace of God, and it's a long story I can explain too. But I didn't grow up with a silver spoon in my mouth, I can assure you. This town has been unbelievably good to me and my family. I have invested in this community for 42 years, and believe me, that investment has paid back many, many times. I cannot believe how lucky I am to have found Walla Walla 42 years ago and been able to raise a family and now enjoy 7 grandchildren with my lovely wife Linda, who's sitting here in the second row. I have given back to this community from the time I moved here in terms of community activism. And when I had the opportunity to put my name forth to fill the remaining term of Commissioner Loney, I opted to do so, and I was chosen to do that, and then ran for a full term. I want to do that again, and I would appreciate your support. I think I've done a pretty good job, and I would urge you to ask any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you to the candidates.